we discussed whether or not the minister is being realistic or not. I mean, you know, he's looking for minus 7.2. I think the last MPC was looking around 8. And then you think, okay, like, and then what? 3.3% next this coming year, 1.9 the next 3 years. I mean, no, like for example, I know you would argue like he's being over optimistic on GDP, and I mean, I just worry like even if he isn't. I mean, because when you look at that graph you gave, 32%, 32.5% unemployment. Yeah. I mean, we went through a decade during the Zuma era where we were barely hitting 1% as a positive, like, and that was a crisis then. So how much more of a crisis now when we've had like exactly. Such a big 8-9% or whatever it is, the contraction in the end, and then if we like do 1.9 for the next 2 or 3 years, surely that's not good enough for us to deal with the kind of crisis we're dealing with. On the bank guarantee scheme, I mean obviously that has been quite a failure, and also like it sort of discredits government in a way, because you know, remember like with much fanfare last year the president unveiled 500 billion stimulus, 500 billion I say again, but of that 200 billion is supposed to be this bank scheme, and as far and so far only about 8% of that has exactly gone. So the stimulus is nowhere near like 500 billion. So even if you take all the other stuff, like, you know, like a lot of it was tax deferred and stuff. So like you can have debates whether it's new money or not. But the impression was created that this guarantee scheme was like 200 billion to the banks, and the banks have to lend it out. Obviously that's not the case. Yeah. I mean, it's all very vague. I mean, I can see a bit in the document where they talk about including other players, including like like the development finance institutions like the IDC, but that's all about what we're going to be discussing. So I don't think any of that is something that's going to happen today or tomorrow or even next week. I mean, probably even never. I think that there might be a lot of politics in there, you know. My issue, what I worry about, is the sustainability of our economy and the sustainability of our country, even the sustainability of our society, because surely we can't go on like this. You know? So in the end, it becomes an academic debate. Is fiscal cliff or not? I mean, the question is, where are we going to be in 5 years' time? I remember colleagues there would ask me, like, why don't you just like impose a haircut on the bondholders? That, I mean, like, you know, if you go to South America, that happens all the time with all the SOEs, or at least do something, because we seem to be scared to do anything, you know, one way or the other. I mean, it was like 2 years ago that the former chair of ESKOM was talking about the 100 billion being taken into the government's balance sheet. Remember, like, I think the debt then was probably like 300 billion. I just don't know what it was. Like, it just keeps growing and growing, and we just keep kicking that one down the road. I mean, at some point we have to deal with it. Yeah. You know, like, I think there are positive things in fairness with ESKOM. I mean, it's being reformed. You know, I think most people agree that the new CEO is doing a good job. Yeah. I mean, I'm not a technical person, but it looks like, you know, with the restructuring and the separation, there seems to be progress is being made on the legal front, and there's much more openness now to have diversity in the market. You know, you mentioned that the stimulus you're seeing in the West, you're seeing in China. Then they will ask you, why can't we do the same? It does seem a bit unfair, doesn't it? Exactly. When we sit here and we like watch the UK deficit go to 100% or whatever it is, and going higher, and now they keep extending their stimulus. Of course, I mean, the answer is quite simple. We are not in a similar situation. Exactly. We don't print pounds here. We don't print dollars, and it does seem unfair. But you should say it's a constraint we have to live with. I suppose I should start by saying, me as a financial journalist, you know, I don't have good guys, bad guys. I just got guys, and sometimes one of the guy is good today, the next day is not so good. But I mean, it's interesting. Like, you know, as you mentioned the constitutional issue, and whether it's a direct message aimed at anybody else. I mean, I actually thought it was a message aimed, but I wasn't actually thinking as explicitly political as that. I was thinking more in terms of the debates that we're going to be having around the wage deal. Good point. Because remember, the government did go into court against the unions and actually won that case. And obviously, like, you know, the last year of that wage agreement wasn't implemented. of the 3-year agreement, which ends this year. And so the new one is starting to be negotiated for this year. And I think that's what the message he was saying. I won this in court, so next time you're not going to do what you did in 2018 and concede to a deal that the Treasury doesn't agree with. But of course, if it turns out he is overruled over that, then I think his position would be untenable.